Hello, my name is Olivia Ketzel, and I am a graduating senior in the Sustainable Energy Management program at SUNY ESF in Syracuse, New York. This video presentation was produced to be submitted to the SRE 337 course taught by Dr. Danielle Kloster on April 4th, 2020. I'm going to be presenting information about the Steel Winds wind turbine project that currently operates on the coast of Lake Erie in Lackawanna, New York. First, I will address some key points about the project. The project was completed in 2012 with 14 turbines and a total 35 megawatt nameplate capacity. The 2.5 megawatt turbines were manufactured by Clipper Liberty Wind in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and then transported to the site. The project exists in two phases. Phase 1 of the project, most notably, was named winner of Power Engineering Magazine's 2007 Best Renewables Project of the Year award for their innovative technologies at the time. While the project itself is impressive enough, the real point of interest is the project's unique location. At the height of U.S. steel production, the Bethlehem Steel Plant in Lackawanna, New York, employed over 20,000 people. But in the mid-1980s, a massive decline in domestic steel production forced the mill to close, leaving a 1,600-acre contaminated site behind, and for a long time, this land was unusable. The steel slag brownfield wasn't home to a single weed. However, since the completion of the renewable energy project in 2012, the 14 wind turbines became a part of Buffalo lore and part of the beloved steel plant's history. The site was an ideal place for wind turbines for a handful of reasons. There were already transmission lines nearby which connected the turbines to the NYISO grid, which expedited the process of getting online. Also, the location was already connected by major roadways, so transportation of parts to the site was seamless. To better understand how this project came to be, I will discuss the history of the project and how this special location made it happen. So, in the 1990s, the site became the subject of an EPA Resource Conservation and Recovery Act facility investigation. Because the site was so contaminated, there were minimal options for cleaning it up or financing development. But in 2002, changes in New York state and federal environmental laws provided financial and legal incentives to investigate and remediate contaminated sites such as these and return them to productive use. These changes, coupled with work done at the University at Buffalo to determine the potential for wind energy productivity in the area, resulted in the EPA declaring the site clean enough to be removed from a Superfund list, and construction of Phase 1 began 6 months later in September 2006. The 8-turbine construction project was headed by BQ Energy and UPC Wind, now Apex Energy and First Wind, and was feeding energy into the grid within 6 months from the start of construction, so April 2007. BQ Energy primarily controlled the project efforts by finding the site, arranging the brownfield grants, negotiating the lease, and accelerating the permitting for the entire project. The project was financed through a partnership among private investors, an electric utility, and local and state governments. Phase 2 of the project included the addition of 6 more identical wind turbines and was finally completed in 2012. The technology involved is very typical to the wind turbine systems we have looked at in class. Energy harnessed in wind spins the 3 blades around a rotor. The rotor, or hub, is connected to the main shaft, which turns the generator and produces electricity. In 2007, the turbines were the largest produced in the U.S. at 80 meters high, a height that is now typical for utility turbines. This is a map produced by the National Renewable Energy Lab depicting average wind speeds in New York at that 80-meter height. The green dot off to the left represents the Steel Winds project site. The spot rests right around the 6.57 meters per second range that we want to push with wind turbine projects, and since the turbines are right along the Great Lake, we can assume even higher wind speeds at times. I couldn't quite find the actual output of the 35 megawatt project to date, however, I hope to find that information for my final report. Finally, I'd like to discuss the costs and benefits associated with a project of this magnitude. While I also struggled to find information on the monetary cost of the entire project, I did find that Phase 1 alone, so 8 of the 14 turbines, cost just under $40 million. So if we assume a 30% capacity factor for these utility-scale wind turbines, which is a low ball from the reported 31.8% for the technology in 2012 by the EPA, then a 35 megawatt farm produced just under 92,000 megawatts a year. At 17.5 cents per kilowatt hour, as reported by the EIA a few months ago for residential electricity in New York, this amounts to just over $16 million. Even if Phase 2 cost another $40 million, bringing the entire project total to $80 million, if my assumptions about the system's productivity and electricity costs are even remotely correct, we're looking at a payback of under 10 years, which isn't that bad. And my hope is that my assumptions weren't all that outrageous, so hopefully I'm at least a little close with my assumptions. For social and environmental costs and benefits, I really couldn't find any costs, but I did find that the benefits were quite obvious. I know that for the people, we can see the turbines along the shores of Woodlawn Beach in the summer, and the tips of the blades can be seen from high points all across the city. The project brought life back to the steel plant site that so many of our families worked at when it was still in operation, and it turned a once useless plot of land into a spectacle. Speaking environmentally, the story isn't all that different. Western New York started to pave the way for urban renewable energy with the Niagara Power project in Niagara Falls. And with the development of steel winds, that attitude was extended, and the people of this region now have access to more clean energy sources. As for the technical side of things, I'm not sure if there are any costs here either. As mentioned before, this is an awarded project to be used as a model for other cities with similar wind potential. At its completion, Phase 1 of this project was the largest urban wind farm in the U.S., with the tallest and most advanced turbines available at the time. And with the attention that the farm has gotten, another portion of the old Bethlehem steel plant is now home to a solar PV setup consisting of 26,000 panels at just under 9 megawatts total capacity. To conclude, this project has ultimately been a success. Today, there is even talk about erecting wind turbines offshore, using the onshore turbines as a model for potential productivity. I hope that Western New York continues to pave the way for other urban settings to adapt a similar attitude towards renewable energy for cities. And that's all I have for now, so I can't wait to read you guys' questions. Thank you.